and grew up with a family that my parents did real estate also, but I'll get into more of that later. I had no interest in being in real estate at all. So after I graduated high school, I went to college for like a semester, and I said, that's not for me, I don't need college. And I walked out and came back home. I started working doing accounting. I learned accounting at a young age in my dad's businesses. I had his office managers taught me. So accounting was self-taught. So I went to work for accounting, but it wasn't taught the way it should be, so I got fired from that job. So I went to work for a wholesale house and started managing it and doing the accounting there too. They liked the way I did accounting. But from there, I was still in that job. I had gotten married to someone I'd been with for 5 years, and as Marty talked about, that things can happen, and I'll get more into that later. You think they don't, but life changes, and you have to get prepared for some of those things and be ready for those changes. But I always wanted to be self-employed. My biggest dream and goal, which sounds kind of crazy now, looking at this many years ago, was I just wanted to have kids and be a mother. I wanted to stay at home, and I wanted to raise those kids. And the old people from here that have been around a lot of years know me for that was always my focus through my whole life was my kids. And so I took the time, we wanted to start a business, and so that I could be at home. I wanted to raise my own kids. I didn't want a stranger raising them. So we decided we were going to start a lawn mowing company of all things. And again, this was a lot of years ago. So I had went to Votech in high school and did a marketing class and stuff, and I had a teacher that I totally loved and adored that was a big influence in my life. So I was supposed to go to her. She'll help us write marketing plan, get our ideas. So that's what we did. And that was one step in God's path that was going to lead us to where I needed to go. Instead, by the time I left her house, she convinced us to get an Amway. How many people ever got an Amway? There's got to be someone else. Andrew. I know there's a few others, okay, right? I never made a dime in Amway, right? But Amway led me to real estate. So I spent quite a few years in Amway, but I learned a ton from those people in that business. I learned about the value of relationships. I learned about leadership. I learned about being goal-oriented, being focused. I went to all the meetings. I did all the stuff. But I'm not a salesperson at all. I never will be in my life. So I learned a ton there. And during that time frame, I also decided I would just quit my day job and I would start selling life insurance and health insurance. Again, it wasn't my smartest move. I'm not a salesperson. I could convince you to buy something you didn't need or force you to buy something you didn't need. But all that to be said was there came a time in Amway where, does anybody know what book Amway pushed the hardest to put out?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Alan, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's what I read that book. That's what got me interested in real estate. I was just living in a little apartment off McKinley Avenue in the southwest side of town. And my husband then was working out at Tinker night shifts. He was an aircraft mechanic. An infomercial came on for Russ Whitney. Anyone remember that name? I called him and said, hey, you want to go learn about this real estate thing? It was a free seminar, right? That's how they get you in the door back then. So we agreed to go to this free seminar. Now, to back up a little bit, my parents had rentals all growing up. They were even we lived on acreage, there was trailers on our acreage. My grandparents and my uncle owned like half of Stockyards area with rental property and everything down there. I was very familiar with it, but I wasn't familiar with the true value at that point in my life and what real estate could do for someone. There was 5 of us kids. Who do you think cleaned out the houses? We saw the other side of it. Looking back now, I see what that actually provided from us as children, from my parents. But at the time, we didn't know it. We just hated the concept because that's what we would do on evenings, weekends, this or that. We saw all that. We were at the negativity part. My parents were great parents, but they didn't teach us the positive part of what it could do. My dad wasn't the best at managing stuff, plus he had his own brick and mortar type of business. And he just wasn't good financially at planning ahead. He was a big dreamer. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of big dreamers, right? Is to get control of what they're trying to do and manage it and quit dreaming too high. Sometimes you can't dream too high because you don't control where you're at. But anyway, so we go to this seminar, and back then, they teach you, hey, anybody got credit cards? Have you got a balance on it? We can get your interest rate lowered. They teach you how to lower your interest rate. You think, oh, they're helping me, right? They're saving me money. Then they teach you how to get a giant credit line increase, right? Then day 3, they sell you on a massive course. Because now, guess what? You've got the credit to afford it, right? Let's see, I've lost train of thought what year that was. Let's see. Probably about, would have been year 2000 probably, that I did that. It was the best thing for me. Back then, $15,000 was a whole lot of money. When I'm living in a little bitty apartment, one income, there wasn't much left to go after the end of the month. But for me, I needed to spend the $15,000 because once I had that on my credit card, I didn't have a choice, did I? Now I had an extreme motivation. One big thing you've got to find is what's going to motivate you to do it when you don't want to do it. What's going to make you and force you to keep going whenever times get tough or when it seems like it's not going to work. And that's what did it, because I had to pay that debt off. I had to find a way. What it did do for me is, again, God brought something more into my life. We did a 3-day seminar on the typical investment deals, wholesaling, rehabbing, landlording. But they convinced us to buy a mentor at that time. And his name was Gary LeBrown. I still remember him today. If I could find him, I wish I could. I would have a story to tell him for sure for what he did for us. He came out and spent 3 days with me, taught me everything I needed to know, gave me more than he was supposed to give me so that I could start my real estate business. We drove the streets. He taught me the areas. He taught me contracts. He taught me all that stuff back then to be able to start it. And the one thing he did then was he said, the biggest thing you got to do is we got to find you a group of investors to get connected with. And again, for me, it's a God thing looking back. That month is when there was a group of us getting together at a little, can't remember the name of the restaurant now, something like a Chili's up north. There was like about 10 of us in a room eating dinner. Gary helped me find the next 2 people that were going to be my mentors in that room that knew what the information I needed to do to start helping me down the path. When we were out driving with Gary, who wants to hear about my first deal? We're driving the streets, and I have to look at the numbers because it's so long ago, but I pulled them. We're driving the streets, Southwest 10th and Penn. You guys know that area? It's still about the same. Pretty low. But my favorite place through the years has been that little Southwest pocket. That's where my bread and butter houses have been, just to let you know. A little further from 10th, but we're driving along these streets looking at these houses, and he's wanting us to pick out houses we think we should direct mail to. Back then, it's direct mail. We did all of our marketing through direct mail, and that's how I found all my deals for years back then. Times have changed. If I came back and had to find my own deals, you guys would have to teach me what to do now, because I honestly don't know what that would be. I'm too far out of finding deals. I just buy them from other people. So there was this house, totally grown up in the front, all that, and he said, that's the deal. That's the deal I would do. I said, okay. Long story short, mailed postcard, someone calls me, and they want to sell the house. I do it all over the phone without seeing it. The lady tells me that she wants out from underneath it. It was a family issue. And she only wanted $3,150 for this house. Now, in my little mind, being brand new, I'm like, this is like a gold mine, right? I'll take it, basically. So my partner at the time goes over there, looks at it, calls and says, you just don't want to see this house. Just put it under contract. Don't come see it first, or you won't put it under contract. So I put it under contract, then I go look at it. Then I go, what have I done? There was basically no floor. It was the dirt. The roof was falling in. We had interior gardens in the bathroom from the skylights. There really weren't skylights in this house. There was really nothing to this house. But because Gary told me that's the deal he would do, I had belief and I had faith. And I said, he said he'd do it. We can do this. Looking back, that was insanity. But, so, again, telling how old I am in my times, what did I do? I ran an ad in the Daily Oklahoma. Investor special. What did I advertise it for? I may have put it like at 8. I don't remember what I advertised it for. No, here, my notes. 5,000. Investor special. I I think I took the call from every investor there was anywhere in the state of Oklahoma. I logged over 100 calls. Did wonders for me because I made a huge amount of connections, and talk about adding a buyer's list. Now, granted, a lot of those just wanted to see what kind of houses were selling for $5,000. They weren't really serious. No investor bought it, but a guy called me and wanted to buy it. He was moving here from California. If I remember, that's not my notes, but I know he came from California. 18 days I had a buyer, and I sold him that property. He negotiated me to $4,650. So I made $1,500 in that deal. He shows up, little old guy, because here's the other thing, don't ever do this. She didn't want to go through closing. She just wanted to sign me a deed. She didn't need to give me keys, because you didn't need any keys. She didn't inherit it. She just wanted to sign the deed over to me, and I did that. Never, ever do that. Never done it again in my life. But I thought, what can I lose for $3,150, right? How did I get that money? I took that money off of a credit card. I didn't have the cash laying around. I took it off of a credit card, a cash advance. I never do that either. But that's what I did back then. A little guy shows up with, I don't remember how many money orders, traveler's checks. How many money orders? They were traveler's checks, again, a long time ago. And signed them on the back of his car, wants to sign them on the back of his car out at Southwest 10th and Penn. And I'm by myself, and I was like, I really think we should probably go to the bank to do this. Because I just know that someone's going to come along, right? So we go to the bank, we do that. He pays me, I make my first deal. I'm ecstatic. That's a hard thing to come back from, right? The next deal is going to be much harder. That was an unusual deal. But because somebody told me they would do it, I did it. That's what you've got to find, is someone that's going to give you your belief that the impossible is possible. And that's what Gary did for me at that time. That just propelled me to want to find the next deal, the next deal. So that made me believe in the marketing, belief in my process, belief in my own ability, belief in what I needed to do. So at that point, REIA started meeting. We started moving forward. We spent the next years paying off debt, wholesaling houses. I still didn't have any money to speak of or cash or anything like that. So I started wholesaling the houses so that I could make money. Now, something I also did is I started building credibility and relationships. One of the biggest things you have to do in this business is build your relationships and keep your credibility. You have to find a way to make those connections and those relationships that are going to last the long term, because those are the ones that are going to save you and help you long down the road. But in the beginning, it may seem menial that you're doing some of those things, but they're very important. So I only knew the simple ways to do that. I didn't have, like I said, cash. I didn't have savings. I didn't have money to speak of. So I started wholesaling houses. To prove my worth to bankers, to get bankers to loan me, I started creating a deal book. But really, I hadn't done a deal, right? I only wholesaled them. And back then, we didn't have to close them. We just literally wholesaled the contract, sold the contract. So I would take before pictures of when I could put the house under contract. I would take after pictures. A lot of times, they were the exact same, because I didn't touch the house. Maybe I mowed the yard, cleaned up the bushes. And I would put on that sheet of paper in that deal binder what I put under contract for, what I sold it for, my profit. And I built a binder like that, and it started my banking relationships, because when I went into a banker, started trying to get loans, I could show that I had a way to make cash, right? I could show that I had been doing deals, even though I never actually owned a house. Find ways to show your worth as you're beginning to get to know and build these relationships with bankers, with title companies, with investors. I needed to build a relationship with title companies too. I needed them to put me first. I needed them to help me learn, to help me close deals. So I started making baskets at the holiday times. I was raised to cook and bake well with my mother. So I would do baked goods. We would take them and deliver them to our bakers, to our title companies. Simple ways. Realtors, I would deliver them to them. That's how they got me where they would take my calls. They would take my answers. They got to know me personally. You have to develop the relationships. They're the biggest key thing within real estate and long-term business, is developing those relationships. You never know when they're going to pay off and when you're going to need them. The very first realtors that I used, I still use some today. I don't buy a lot. I haven't bought a lot in a lot of years, and I don't sell anything in a long time. I don't buy off MLS because you guys are paying too crazy prices for me. I need to sell some of my property for my mother right now that she still owns. And I called up the realtors always, because I developed that relationship 20 years ago with these realtors. Anytime I needed comps for random reasons, anytime I needed anything, they gave it to me. No questions asked, no charge, immediately. She walked in this last week to my mother's and she said, I remember the basket you guys first brought me. And I had forgotten about it until she said that we used to do that. So you're going to find the little ways and the things you can do yourself at where you're at the season of your life. The position you're in to be able to gain you that momentum from those people. So you find the little things. I still have all of those people. It created my relationships with bankers that allowed me to start doing deals that most people wouldn't believe that I could do, because they gave me all the money at times. Because they knew who I was. They knew what my reputation was. They knew what I was going to do. They knew what I could do in the past. The first deal I had to close on was very similar. Keep in mind, nobody knows what you know, and not even if you think that they might know about something. I had an uncle that was very like a father to me. He actually built the majority of stockyards. He owned a ton of rental houses down there. I got a deal on postcards again. These kids had inherited their house from their grandmother. It had back property taxes. At that time, you could buy tax certificates. They were fixing to get up to where they could buy a tax certificate. We went and made them a ridiculous offer because they were going to lose the house. Still a good offer to them. I believe it was a house in Midwest City, off of Beachwood Drive. House was packed, full. There's a trail through this, 3-bedroom, 2-living house. I mean, there were albums from their grandmother's 100th birthday they didn't even know. That's just the type of kids they were. So we made a deal to buy the house. I needed $20,000, but I had to close it because I advertised it to my buyers, and I had someone willing to pay me $30,000. But they couldn't know I was making $10,000 back then. That was unheard of. They would walked away. I didn't have the cash to close it, nor did I have the banking relationships to double close it that quick like that, because I would have had that cash down. I went to my uncle thinking, he'll know what I'm talking about, right? Because he had funds to loan me. He's like, you're going to do what? I said, I just need the money for 48 hours. I already have it sold. I just have to close it. They'll close it 48 hours later. I said, if you can loan me the money for that time frame, I'll give you half the profit. He's like, you'll pay me $5,000 for $20,000 in 2 days. I was like, yeah. Let me think about it. Calls his banker from an All-American bank that was the president there. He said, Bruce, this is what she's going to do. Can you do that? He goes, man, I don't know. And just put it in writing. He goes, what's the worst case? If it doesn't work, you own the house, right? And he's like, yeah. Try it. This is a president of a bank. And my uncle, who owned a lot, that had no idea you could do this kind of thing. It worked, thank goodness. The guy closed. From then on, even though my uncle had all these years on me, he began to visit with us. He began to follow us to rehab houses, the things we were doing, check on us, because he was so curious what we knew that he didn't know. You are in a constant state of learning. I don't care how old you are, how long you've been in it. You will always be in a constant state of learning. There will always be something you don't know that someone else knows. Part of why you are here isn't because of who's up here speaking. It's not because of what they're going to teach you or what they're going to share that might help your business. It's because of all of you sitting out here. Why you guys are in those back rows, I don't know. You should be up here. I'm going to call all of y'all out. Andrew? You come in the REIA, you need to be up front. You need to be networking and you need to get to know these people, because the people in this room are the ones that's going to get you to your success. It's not the people Marty has up here speaking. There was a time with REIA, we were 130 people. But I'll tell you what we were just selling courses. I was bringing in every national speaker. They were just selling people courses after course after course. Who was getting successful? The speaker. I watched in the room. They weren't getting successful. There was a guy that kept buying the courses. He walks up to the table to buy another one, and I'd had it. And I said, I'm not letting you buy it. He's like, what? I'm not letting you buy it. Why? I said, you have done nothing, zero, not even a deal. All you're doing is buying course after course after course, thinking it's going to work. It's not what you need. You need to go do a deal. You need to quit spending money on a credit card buying a course that you think is going to be your answer. That wasn't his answer. I wouldn't let him buy it. At that point, I was like, something's got to change. Not long after that, I had my dates written out, but obviously you guys know I started in 2000, and OKCREIA started in 2001. I ended up going through a long 5-year divorce, and there's a whole lesson in that to you guys too that I don't mind getting real and sharing with. When I went through my divorce, my business wasn't built to sustain a divorce or to sustain two people living off of it. We had already retired. I had my first daughter. She was 3 years old when I started my divorce. It took us 5 years. The one thing two things he and I did right. One, we left our daughter out of it, and we still raised her together. The second, nobody in the real estate business even knew we were in a divorce all those years. Our bankers did not know because we both were mature enough about it to know if we wanted to continue being able to run our businesses and not work for a day job, we had to honor our obligations. We had to honor our bankers' debts, and we weren't going to let them know there was any trouble going on because we wanted to do the right thing. We had just had other friends that we had actually had a partnership with on a fourplex a few years prior that had to give us the fourplex and file bankruptcy because they couldn't handle fixing their business because they were divorcing. They lost everything. They're still not in real estate today. They're still working normal, everyday, low-end jobs today because of the choices they made instead of choosing to do the right thing. It speaks volumes for you if you choose to do the right thing one way or another. If you make an obligation with a debt to pay it back, figure out how to pay it back. Or get into that banker and be real with them. Our bankers learned years later that we had gotten divorced by mistake. It became normal then. They could not believe we were still in business together, that we had done the right thing and we had not filed bankruptcy. It was a long, hard road for years on both of us to be able to survive like that. But we did what was right. Rhea never knew I was going through a divorce. Rhea never knew the problems. There were many days that I might have spent the day prior or the morning prior crying and trying to get through life, wipe it up. Some people say straighten up your crown and walk in here because you people are the people that made me keep going, even though you didn't know it. Helping one person at a time, somebody helping me saying those words. The community of the investors is what kept me going. At that time frame, it also so happened, I guess I'm trying to say that life doesn't ever stop. You don't ever stop living life, and life doesn't stop throwing bullets at you. There was a time frame for about the 6-year period during my divorce. I had several family members pass away during this time frame, unexpectedly. 6 of them that were very close to me. I had a miscarriage during that time when I was trying to have more children. There was one thing after another that could have knocked me down, and I'm not going to say it didn't at times, it did. You got to find a reason to keep going. You got to find a reason that you're going to get there. Looking back 26 years, the longevity and the time put in, what does it gain you? It's gained me an unbelievable life today. Had you told me that I would be at the life that I'm at 10 years ago, I just said you were crazy. But you know, the difference is everyone in that room thought I was successful, and I was successful. I still wasn't working a job. I still had a lot of real estate properties. I was still doing deals. But as Marty talked about, some of my life wasn't balanced. But part of that is a process. Some people ask me, what would I change? What would have I done different? I honestly wouldn't change any of it. It made me who I am today. It made me who my kids are today. I was talking about Rhea. We were up to like 130 people. They were buying the courses like that. It just wasn't working. No one was getting successful. So for those people that come in here and think you're supposed to hear the newest, greatest, latest thing, I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you that's not why you're here. It's not going to do you any good. Yeah, is there a place out there you can go get that? Absolutely, you can go get it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Education is always key on it. That's not what this is for. I had a great another mentor come into my life, and he's speaking next month, right, Marty, I believe? Justin, you need to be here and you need to bring friends. He's a very intelligent man. He was a game changer and a life changer for me in a time that I really needed it, because that's when I was going through the divorce. We had to decide who was taking REIA. I took REIA. Justin worked with me, and he scared the hell out of me because he said, we're going to tear REIA down to almost zero, and then we're going to rebuild it. And I said, you're crazy. You can't do that right now. I'm not sure I can even handle that right now. But you can ask the few in here that were there for it. Alan, Andrew, Jack, Russell. We did. We tore it down. And you know, a lot of there was about 6 successful people that come to me and said, you can't do this. What does this do for us seasoned investors? And I looked at them and I said, name me the seasoned investors that's going to show up to my room. They had like 6 they could name. I said, why am I having a REIA for you? Are you paying me to do anything? Are you contributing anything? I guess you have a point, they finally said. REIA's not here as a business to make money. I promise you, Marty's not making money off you guys. Marty's doing it out of the goodness of his heart. Marty's doing it to give back. Marty's doing it because he wants to see somebody's life changed. He wants to see you guys have what you're trying to get at. Your job should be to show up every month and bring someone with you. No matter who's speaking, no matter what's going on. Your job should fill this room. You should also volunteer. He's not paying people to do these jobs. These people sitting back here at this desk and stuff, I wouldn't have lasted for you that long if Andrew wouldn't have talked. Russell, Alan, Jack, all these guys, they talked, they showed up, they helped me run tables, they introduced people, they did the round tables, everything I needed, they spoke. We taught Saturday classes together. Did they get paid? They didn't get paid. They came, showed up and taught you everything they knew to give back. And that's what your mindset should be, because that is how you're going to grow. You will grow more in that process than you will with any main speaker or big guy speaker up here. Because you're developing relationships. You're developing what you're going to need on the long term, the longevity. You would be surprised what my bankers will do for me today. They will even fudge numbers to make a deal work, because their words to me are, you always pay your bills. You always pay your debt. I know you do. You might be in a spot right now. I'll fix it to where I can get you the money. Because I know what you do. You can't do that in year 1. You can't do that in year 5. Real estate is a long-term investment. It's not a get-rich-quick. It's not a retire in the first 5 years. Trust me, when we retired, way too soon. I'm telling you, keep your day job. Keep another stream of income. It's so much easier. You may hate going there, but that's part of your motivation. When you quit and you gotta make that real estate provide for your family, man, that's much harder. Much harder. It's a long term. Think about it this way. What happens if you just buy one house? Where are you at 20 years later when it's paid off? If that's all you ever did, how much does that change your life? I have a friend, they bought 2 houses. That's all they ever bought. They wanted to do real estate. Guess what? They gave both those houses to their kids. What did they do for their kids and their legacy and their family out of 2 houses? What's the little bit you can do by just buying one more house? Just buy one at a time. It's not how many houses do you want to own. It's how do I get one more? When I ran REIA, I wouldn't let anyone tell you how many houses they owned up here. Would I, Jack? It wasn't about how many houses they owned, because the guy owning 20 houses could make more than the guy owning 100 if he bought right and managed it right. It was about the person. It was about what they already had been through and learned. It was about their story and what they could teach you from their story that saved you a few hurdles. That's what they're here for. Real estate can gain you anything you want, but it's not get rich quick. It's long term. Multiple streams of income, I still encourage greatly. Went through my divorce. That business is still set aside for my daughter that was born in that marriage. It's still sitting there today. I've done about every type of deal you can think of, from subject to wholesale, rehab, all of it. I did a lot to get out of it. There's always a way out. And you might have to talk to enough people to figure it out. When life hits you the hardest, there's always a way out. So when my divorce hit, we couldn't keep up with it. It was nowhere in 5 years near to support itself and support us. I don't even know who got it in our head and how, but I guess God brought it to us again. We owner financed everything out. Sold it on rent to own. Took away my maintenance. Took away unknown bills, unknown expenses. I still have those houses today. They're starting to pay off this year, and I'm not happy about it. But what did it buy me and what did it afford me? It afforded me to survive. It afforded me to pay my bills. It afforded me in a season of my life to get to the next season of my life. There will always be chapters and always be seasons. You have to learn to adjust to those. You have to get advice. During that time frame, we tore OKCREIA down and we rebuilt it into the same as what you see today. And I was shocked that we could take it down to a handful of people and build it right back up to 80 people again. And it was a different feeling. It was a family. It was people there that want to give back and want to help. It's a whole different faces here today other than the few that I have pretty much named out. I want to say there might be 7 that I know in here. It should be more. But out of those 7 that I know that are so successful, what have they done for their families? What have they done for their legacy? I can tell you stories about each one of them. Unbelievable stories over time. Then I promise you, I haven't seen any of them in the last 6 years due to COVID, but if I called them up on the phone, they'd be there in a heartbeat. Because our relationships. We were all there for one another at a different time and place. That's what you've got to find. You've got to find that family, you've got to find it, but you have to give back first. You can't be the one only taking. It's not all about the deals. It's not all about the success. It's about creating a family. It's about creating relationships. I promise you I could reach out to Russell. He'd help me with anything I need. Russell's been doing it since 17. Russell helped me do deals in the beginning through private money. There's always a time and a place for all of it. But I tell you some of the stuff to tell you that I've had so many different challenges through the years. That sometimes it just feels like you are an arrow being pulled back. And it just keeps pulling you further and further back and further back in that boat. And you're waiting for it to snap, right? But all it's doing is preparing you for something great. The greatness that when you can finally let go of it and that arrow hit its target. Today, I have an incredible husband. I have 2 more kids. I'm going to be 50 this year. And we adopted 2 more kids at birth. They're 6 and 7 now. We're like on the 3rd set of kids between the 2 of us. I know, we're crazy. We live on 200 acres. Last year, we just built a RV and boat storage facility from the ground up. We have a manufacturing company. We have a full quarter horse breeding company that I have. My daughter is in college at SMU. She got a D1 scholarship to go do reining. We got tired of buying our horses, so we started breeding them. And we're going to see how that business works out. I would have never thought that I would have 4 or 5 other businesses later in life. But that's when you find true wealth, is when you get up to that. But you would not see that. And I didn't have that until like the last 5 years. 5 or 6, I'd have to go back and look at that. But the better part of the first 20 years was a struggle. And most people wouldn't know it. But that struggle is worth it. And I think if you get the mindset of where you're headed and what it can gain you, it's a complete game changer. How am I on time, Marty?
Yeah, like 5 more minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to go through quick. Surely you guys have pen and paper. But when I looked back at my life, there's probably 11 key things that I'll go through real quick that had helped me get to my success. Your biggest thing is start with your why. Find a why that drives you. It's not that you want to retire. It's not that you want to get rich. It's not that you want to have passive income. You have to find a why that means something. For me, it was my kids. It was raising my kids, giving them a better life, giving them what I wanted to do and not being bound by a job. The kids was my driving. So find the why that actually means something to you. I've already talked about a lot. Find your like-minded people and get educated. Everybody's in a different season of life. Find the people in your season of life. All the way across the board. That will change through time. It won't always be the same people. Be ready and willing to move on when that group of people changes. But you've got to surround yourself constantly with people ahead of you. But at the same time, you need to be reaching down to pull someone along with you. Because that giving back is what's going to truly keep you going. You need to train your mind. I'm a big promoter of the power of I am. From a spiritual view, from whichever way works for you. For me, it's spiritual, but the powerful words of the words I am. My kids on the way to school, after we do school review, because I have a 50-minute drive in every day for school, they say their prayers, and they say I am statements until they get out of the car. I'm trying to teach them the mind feed young. You need to do your mind feed. You need to feed your mind with the positive things. Use the words I am. Be consistent in what you're doing. Don't try to do everything across the board at one time. You'll get there eventually, I promise you. You'll get to do every type of deal, every type of investment you want to do eventually. Pick one, be consistent until you get it going and master before you start spinning another plate. I promise you, it'll have a massive difference. Stay focused. Plan your weeks, plan your days. Take that time each week. Plan out what you're going to do and stay focused. Take the time you need from each area of your life. If you don't have it written down and planned, you won't do it. It'll be Wednesday, and the whole time will be away from you. Trust me. Even to this day, it's still like that with me, especially when you throw kids in the mix. Take accountability for your actions. That's a hard one. You are the only one responsible for where you are at today. You will be the only one responsible for where you are at in 20 years. Not your spouse, not your partner, not your business mentor. It'll only be you. You are responsible for your own actions. Take accountability today. You might be the reason you're held back right now. It might be you, and you have to be willing to accept that, find a way around it, or find someone to help you get through your own hurdles. Be patient. This is not an overnight get-rich-quick success process. Society grills us right now, and I won't get into all that, about the instant gratification on everything. This is an instant gratification, but the gratification in the end is beyond your wildest dreams that you can have. A big thing is just listen. Step back and listen. Don't be the first to speak. Don't try to answer the question someone's asking before they're done saying what it is, because you'll miss what they're asking. Stop and listen. And then respond. You will learn so much more just by listening to completely what someone has to say. Same with your bankers. Same with all that. Let them talk. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be the dumbest person in the room because they feel good helping you and teaching you. Now you've just done a great service for them because you've lifted them up. Outdo only yourself. You're not here to compete with each other. You're here to congratulate each other when you have success, but you're not here to compete. Only focus on outdoing yourself, because if you try to do what someone else is doing, you're not going to be successful. It's not for you. It's not your path. It's not what the plan is for you. Remove the measuring stick that so many times is put inside a room or inside an industry. There is no measuring stick. As I said, someone with 10 houses can be more successful than someone with 100. Take out that measuring stick. The 10th, have belief in yourself that it's possible. That starts first. But also recognize that belief as reality, that doesn't have to be next year. You just have to keep moving forward. One step at a time, and one house at a time. Now, as I'm sitting here, I have to add another 11th one. The power of saying no. I'm the worst at it. You've got to say no. You only have so much time, only so many hours in a day. You've got to be willing to say no. You cannot do it all. And when you're able to say no, now you can focus on what you and your family need. And you've got to not feel bad about it. That's the hardest part. But be willing to say no to the things that you need to do. Take the time and make a difference in one person a year. I encourage each of you, one person a year. I want to tell one short story, and I'm about out of time. There was a lady early on, a young lady, back when wholesaling was easy. Wholesaling was something everyone did before there were laws, everything. Her name was Amber Wick. She came to me, and I remember her in the meetings and so forth. She wanted to do real estate. She never said her why. Years later, well, no, it was after Marty. It was in the last year, because I had to tell Marty the story. She looked up REIA because she wanted to sell a house or get someone to help her with something. She lives in another state now. An old REIA number was still listed somewhere, and it came straight to my phone, my old Google Voice number. And I happened to answer, and I usually didn't answer it anymore. And it was Amber. And she said, Donnavee, I can't believe it's you that answered all these years. And I said, she said, do you remember me? And I remembered her name. And I said, yeah, Amber, I remember you're blonde, right? And she said, yes. She said, I need to tell you my story, what you did for me. She wasn't around very long. Going back, she's told me that, I don't recall it. She says, I met with her at a coffee shop. And when I ran REIA, the same goes for Marty, he doesn't have the time to meet with everyone, but I would try to pick one person a month, and I would meet with them. At least, but we weren't actually mentoring and paying for mentoring. And she must have been it. I met with her at a coffee shop. She says I taught her how to wholesale on a napkin. I do not recall it. I don't even know what I would have taught her on a napkin. But I taught her how to wholesale. She went out, took that knowledge, wholesaled one deal. She made 10 grand. The reason she needed to do it was she was in an abusive relationship and she needed out, and she had no way out. The 10 grand allowed her to get out, move back to her family, start a new life in another state, even though he accused her of stealing all of that money, that she didn't actually earn it. It started her a new life. She didn't do any real estate for years. She was then, when she called last year, trying to get back into real estate. Find the time to extend help to just one person. You never know when it's going to come back later. Take the time to mentor one person a month or a year. Give them that little bit of time. It's going to pay back tenfold to you. That's what this group is here for. I can tell you there's hundreds of other stories like that we just don't know. And she was too embarrassed to say what she needed then, but she found it in a little bit. And I know all the people in here that I've known from years have done the same for other people. The people they've mentored, the people they've helped do their first deal, do their second, they're still here for you now. Those are the people that mean the most to you. Those are the people you need to get to know. That's what's going to get you to your success 26 years from now. I have an incredible, beautiful life now that I've never dreamed I would have had. I spent 20 years rough, but the last 6, 7, I guess it's been 8 now, have been amazing. And I wouldn't trade them. And I wouldn't trade my path for where it's gotten me today. And that doesn't mean life is completely easy today. It still has its challenges. It always will. But you will get there. You just have to give it the time to do that. And I encourage each of you to do that and come back here and find your way. Okay.